This thing's in order. I think we need to do the roll call.
This is the meeting of the Information Technology Ad Hoc Committee for July 25th, 2017. The time is 3:35 p.m. On the call of the roll, Member Eldon. Eldon absent. Member Wolf. Josh Wolf.
Present.
Josh Wolf present. Member Bruce Wolf. Here, microphone. Bruce Wolf present.
Present.
Chair Moss.
I am present.
Moss present. We have a quorum.
Excellent. Do we have any agenda changes?
There are no agenda changes that I know of.
Anybody have any agenda changes?
Nope.
All right, then. I believe from there, we can move on to the minutes.
Item 2, approval of the May 23rd, 2017 Information Technology Ad Hoc Committee meeting minutes.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Can we accept by acclamation, or if we need to do public comment? Sorry, any public comment on the minutes? And I don't see any, and so can we accept by acclamation?
Without objection.
Without objection.
The motion is passed without objection, with Member Eldon being absent.
Excellent.
Next on the agenda, item number 3, public comment. Members of the public may address the committee on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda.
So, quick point of order. Because it's an ad hoc meeting, is Member Eldon actually absent on each vote, or just when we called the roll the first time?
Well,
I don't believe he's a voting member at the moment.
Yeah, I think we invited him to come, but it wasn't not necessarily an official member, but...
So I think once we've called the roll, then he doesn't need to be marked absent for each vote.
Well, because we take votes by roll call. That's why
It doesn't matter either way.
He's not a committee member, though.
Right.
So, okay. Got it. Okay, so now we're on public comment. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is there any public comment? Seeing none. I think we can move on to the next item.
Next on the agenda, item number 4, file number 17069, hearing. San Francisco Government TV quality of video stream resolution and accessibility.
So, can I ask you a quick question, Victor? What time do we need to be out of here?
5:30.
5:30. Okay.
I believe Mr. Jack Chin is here from SFG TV.
Excellent.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Jack Chin, General Manager for SFGov TV, part of the Department of Technology. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have regarding the video streaming services that we provide.
Great.
Excellent. So do you want to start in a particular place?
I would love to.
I'll recognize Member Wolf.
So thank you for coming, Mr. Chin. My concern about this is for an accessibility type of issue, but even just in general, when watching SFGov TV online, even with the overhead, like using the overhead machine, right here, it cannot read anything. Okay. It is impossible to read anything, and the actual kind of the captions are very, very blurry. It's so low resolution that it's virtually useless except to just listen for. So I'm wondering if you can explain why that is, because inside the building it's perfect.
Yep. So there's a couple of things contributing to that. One is that the system here that we're using for the displays, most of them are over, the infrastructure itself is over 18 years old. And the document cameras have been replaced recently, but we're in the process of a technology upgrade in the system here in City Hall. Right, so it took us several years to do this upgrade for SFGov TV. We just completed our portion of the upgrade, upgrading from a analog system that was installed in 1999 to a all-new digital system that's HD capable about 6 months ago that we finished the upgrade. And the last piece of that upgrade was this hearing room here, adding the video camera infrastructure in this room. So this room now has video capability. So the next part of the upgrade that's going to improve the display is going to be the portion that the building is doing. So the way the systems are managed in the building here, there's two teams that manage the AV system. We do the broadcast, and media services runs all the media systems in the room itself, right? So because we did our upgrade in phases over 3 years, we had to down convert a lot of our signals, our HD signals, so that it can be displayed on the in-room display systems in the board chambers, all the committee hearing rooms, including this room as well. So right now, you got an HD camera here that can shoot the document itself, but the system that's feeding through is an analog system still. So we're taking this HD signal, down converted to an analog VGA signal, sending it back through the system, and then being displayed here. So that's why you have the very low resolution, even in the room itself. But once we process it for online streaming, that gets processed even further, and so the resolution is even worse. So there is good news about this, or coming, is that this summer, the rest of the system will get replaced. So once the rest of the system is replaced in the summer, then you'll get a better viewing in the room as well as the video stream. And then the second part to your question is the online streaming itself. So our online streaming service is also in the process of being upgraded, and this project has been in the works for about a year. It's again, due to funding constraints, we're not able to upgrade everything at once. So the video streaming system is getting upgraded in the next 2 weeks. So right now, the video streams are going out at 480 by 360 at 220K. In the new system, once we finish the upgrade, it will go out in HD format at 1500K. So it's
what HD formats, sir? There's multiple HD formats. Do you know what
so this is going to be 720p.
By 435?
So it's 720 by 1280.
Oh, so no, that's not right.
That would make it a rectangle like that.
It's actually 16:9.
Right. So if it's 720 across, it'd be 435 up and down. Mm-hmm. If it's 1080 across, it'd be 720 up and down.
So it would be a sideways rectangle like that.
Yeah, there's two version, or there's two resolution. So these are computer display resolution, right? So you could go the 1080 or the 1280.
I'm not sure there's an HD resolution that's 1280. There's 4K, which is 2650 by...
It's 1280 by 720.
Okay.
Yeah, the 720 and the 1080 is what is often referred to, or what is often referenced as HD quality. So again,
it's 720p format. Got it.
Correct. And it's a balance of bandwidth on our network and the streaming service that we're using. Because we're streaming out such a massive amount of video. We weren't able to go full HD at 1080.
Sure.
So 720 is our mix of having a good resolution or an excellent resolution versus bitrate on the network itself.
And are you guys using the same media streaming provider, or have you switched vendors?
We're still going to be using the same media provider. So we just recently completed a RFP that only one vendor bid on this RFP. We went out for solicitation to over 16 vendors, and only one vendor submitted a response.
And with the new version of the streaming, is the closed captioning being distributed separate from the video so that screen readers and those sorts of things are able to get the material, or is it just embedded into the video screen?
No, it's as it is currently, is displayed separately.
Great.
So it's just.
Yeah, I know how it works right now. I just wanted to make sure that we hadn't lost that feature.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the resolution on the closed captioning is not affected by the system that's in this building here. So there shouldn't be any quality of service with the closed captioning in terms of the display resolution.
Yeah, there isn't. That wasn't my concern.
Okay.
My concern was just being able to follow along with the meeting and being able to watch a slide deck or even just a slide deck.
Yeah.
I mean, through the laptop computer.
Yeah.
Was not legible at all, and I just find that it's kind of worthless. At this point.
We are aware of that issue, and it's taking a while for us to and media services to be able to upgrade the whole entire system.
Yeah,
so because we're basically, we have a new video system that we're displaying on a 1999 display system.
Okay.
So
I'm wondering, as you're beginning to make this change, that you maybe not do it so incremental that you kind of build in some headroom, for sake of a better word, because we're already at 4K. Things are going to change and go exponential in the next several years. There's going to be all kinds of fiber optics installed around the city, and private and public, and just kind of keep up with the times, and so that way you have room to grow and kind of keep up with the Joneses as time goes on. Because if you're just going to build to 720, it's not necessarily going to be that helpful.
Do the cameras max out at 720?
No. So our system in City Hall here, the infrastructure that we built in is a 3G system. So essentially, it can go up to 4K.
Right.
It's the cameras. They're all 1080 cameras.
Then they're not 4K.
They're not 4K.
Okay.
No.
All right. That's all.
Do you know if they're 1080p or 1080i?
1080p. Actually, it's common. So the cameras in these rooms are different than the cameras that's on the board chamber and the hearing rooms. So in the board chamber and the original hearing rooms, they have a higher resolution.
So those cameras are 4K.
No, they're not. They're not 4K. They're still 1080.
They're broadcast quality.
Yeah.
They're just like cameras you would take out on the road for news cameras.
Okay.
A lot of those. Well, these are more, webcam type resolution.
These are not webcam type. These are also broadcast quality cameras, but their processing power is not as high as the processing power in the other rooms. And again, it's a balance of costs and quality. So, we have limited budget in terms of our equipment and our operations. So we always get the most out of our budgets.
Yeah.
And then this might be a question for media services and not you, but just in case you happen to know, So the way that these cameras work, I'm assuming, is that they're during a meeting, each camera is continuously gathering visual data, and then someone in the switch booth is switching which camera is the active camera for the broadcast, which is what you then distribute online and in the rooms. Are you guys recording the video from the other cameras, or does that just immediately is it just the live edit that's existing?
No, so only the meetings that we cover by SF TV are recorded. The meetings that are not covered by SF TV are not recorded.
No, that I'm not asked. I understand that. I'm saying that, like, if this was a Board of Supervisors meeting right now, each of these cameras would be recorded, and there'd be someone in a booth choosing which shot to put into the broadcast. It's possible to also be recording the other cameras for archival purposes. I'm not sure there'd be a reason to, but I'm asking to understand what's being preserved and what's not.
Yeah, so essentially it's the mix feed or
Just
the
the mix
switch feed that's recorded.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
I have another question. This is not necessarily on the quality of the system. How many offices are able to watch a committee room, like turn a channel and be able to watch a committee room, even if it's empty?
I believe right now there's about roughly about 140
in
connections in the building.
Okay, so at any time somebody can turn to a channel and be able to see an empty room. These cameras are live.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. So I have a concern about that, and the reason why is because that gives an opportunity for anybody in the building to be able to watch, like, one of our meetings. Okay, but we've been asked to pay up to something like $30,000 to be able to broadcast our meetings. So meanwhile, if somebody were to come, from member of the public were able to come to City Hall, could they watch our meeting from somebody's office?
There's actually public televisions in the public areas. So, for example, in the cafe, there's public televisions or there's public feeds. And often in the light courts, if there's overflows, they're set up at the light court as well.
Okay, so let me explain a little further. So our meetings are not broadcast.
Correct.
At all.
Correct.
Okay. They're recorded audio only, and we post them to our website.
Correct.
Okay. So my question is now that these cameras have been installed, if they are live, like, all the time, that anybody who has the ability to flip a channel and turn on this room, they could be watching this proceeding right now.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. But that's depriving the public.
Okay, so what we're talking about is two separate systems. So in the building, traditionally, there is a closed-circuit TV system in the building. And in addition to the hearing room, there's also feeds for news channels and cable TV channels through that system. And so that system itself is a closed system. That system is also being upgraded as well. So,
yeah, my concern is that those systems are made available to a small group of people who have the privilege of that access versus the general public, of which these meetings are meant for.
Yeah, so again, I think it's it goes back to the question of funding, right? We have the capability to make all meetings available to the public and stream every single meeting, right? So again, it's a matter of resources. If we're given the resource to be able to do that,
no doubt.
we can definitely do that.
I hear you.
Yep.
My concern is that no one, if the general public cannot watch this meeting today, right now, but somebody else in this building is able to watch it, they should be blocked from being able to watch the meeting. If the general public cannot watch it, then nobody should be able to watch it.
But in terms of the general public's access, if they're in this building, right, they can watch a feed in one of the public areas, and they can also come
Where?
into this.
Which public area? Like downstairs in the cafe?
Correct.
No. There's no. It's only whatever SF.gov TV is broadcasting at the time.
No, that's not the case. The fee that's going into the cafe, that fee is the same fee that's going to the offices.
Okay. Does the general public? Is there a sign there to tell the general public that they can do that?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I can check on that. And
Okay.
report
I'm
back.
just having a little. It's just a little concerning to me because, we have been lamenting not having these meetings and other commission meetings not being made publicly available. And if there's the ability for any one person to be able to watch what's going on, and others are prohibited from doing that because they either don't know that it's available or not, it makes it a little difficult. I mean, there are times where we have meetings where all of a sudden an item comes up and the staffer just happens to walk through the door. I'm like, who? Did somebody text message that person, or did somebody call them? I mean, how did they know? Okay, you just answered that question. So it's a little concerning for me about that because the public doesn't have the same opportunity to do that. So a person has to plan their day out to be here at a specific time, but a staffer doesn't. They can just watch on TV and wait until their time comes up and watch the meeting, how the meeting's flowing, and then just step out of their office and come upstairs and join the meeting. So it puts the public at a disadvantage. And that's my concern, that's what the Sunshine Ordinance is not about.
Yep. No, I understand your concern, and I want to say that in terms of SF.gov TV's coverage for city commissions and the Board of Supervisors, we cover the highest number of meetings in the whole entire country.
I understand that.
So in terms of public access, we that's one of our
I'm not disputing what we do for the public.
Okay.
I think the services that we do provide are top notch. What we're trying to do here, but I'm talking about the Sunshine Ordinance and the fairness and balance of access. I mean, the purpose of the ordinance is to provide the public with kind of an inside look of what's going on in the business of the government to be made public. So a lot of work happens in between meetings. So the only opportunity for a member of the public to know what's going on, or the press for that matter, is when a meeting happens. So if some people get the opportunity to watch the meeting in real time, and others do not have that ability to do that, that's a deprivation. And I'm concerned that could be a violation of the Sunshine Ordinance, even in its spirit. And I think that should be addressed.
So I had a question as well. So just make sure I understood. So the Member Wolf had said that the cameras are on all the time, and that people can tune into the stream all the time in, say, this room right here.
Correct. It's not a
Closed circuit.
But
it's not
how does that work with closed session? Like, can anybody turn into a closed session of here? I mean, how does
no? So when the meeting goes into closed session, there is a button that the clerk presses for closed session, and that essentially kills the feed for the room itself.
Is that how you understand it to work, Victor?
Yeah.
And so you hit that, the cameras go off, but the recording stays, and it creates a separate recording.
Wait, so the recording's separate, but if you tune in on the closed circuit to one of these hearing rooms while a hearing's going on, is the audio piped through, or are you just watching this pantomime?
No, you get basically you have a black screen for that room. It's everything.
No, not during closed session. Like, if someone turned to this hearing right now in one of those closed session or closed circuit TVs, do they hear us or just watch us?
They can hear you
Okay.
and watch you. Yeah, it's one. It's not a switch fee, so there's a camera that's active for that in-house system, right? And that system or that fee is going out into the in-house system.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
go ahead.
let me ask, or excuse me, let me add that I think the original intent of the closed circuit system is to provide tenants or departments in this building access to these hearings in addition to the television signal or like the television channels that are being distributed. So it's essentially it replaces a cable TV system in the building.
Yeah, no, I get that.
In terms of like staffers being able to watch the meeting and come to the hearing at a time when they need to be there, it also provides efficiency for our city staff.
I agree.
So
But the public-
instead of sitting in a room, for 4 hours waiting for their items to come up, they can't be in their office
But
working.
the public is doing the same thing. So if the equal access should be made available to the public.
And that's why we provide the number of meetings that we provide on SF.gov TV. We do 25 city commissions and 8
but not
board of
this one.
supervisors.
But not this one.
Yeah. So again, it's cost. So if we if we're able to come up with funding, for this commission, or excuse me, this task force, we will be able to provide coverage as well.
But wait, why can't we, instead of spending $30 to hire someone to sit in a booth and switch between the cameras, why can't we take that channel that's broadcasting this right here on the closed circuit, plug that into a streaming box to digitize this and send the single unswitched video out to our public, which, I mean, it's still going to cost something in hardware, and we're still going to have to hire someone to go like this, but we don't need someone to sit in the meeting and actually operate the camera, so that should reduce that $30,000 cost down to, what? I don't know, but less than $30,000.
Yep. And we have looked at that that service or that program as well. And if we were to do that, we would also need to do it for all the meetings that happen in this building or in these hearing rooms. And that is one of the items that we're looking at for future projects. Right now, currently, we don't have that in our budget.
Who decides the ones that are streamed now?
It's a culmination over the years from public demand and from the commissions themselves. So usually, just like the Sunshine Task Force, you come to us with a request, and if we can fit you in the schedule in terms of the current meetings that we're covering, then we'll add you onto the coverage list.
Right.
Yeah. So there's just no exclusion, in terms of that.
Okay, so I think we need to move along if we're going to get to all the items.
I have a motion.
Sure.
My motion is that the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force and its recommendation to the task force that the full task force and all of its committees be muted, both video and audio from the closed circuit system.
So I mean, before he seconds this or not, I'm a bit concerned that might be out of the range of what our agenda item was discussing today. I mean, if you could just sort of explain how it fits within that, then that could work for me.
Actually, that was one of the items that I had requested to be on the agenda
Okay.
was to have this discussion about the use of the camera system.
So
But I'm willing to hold that over and put it on the main task force, the upcoming meetings agenda. That's fine.
So I feel it's actually premature to move forward with that, and I would like us. So we somehow I don't know exactly what you did, but you got us a $30,000 price quote to do hiring someone to work the booth. And at the time, I asked, why can't we just have a single camera on
Right.
there? And now it turns out that there actually is a streaming video of a single camera. So I think that before we make the move that you suggested, we do whatever process to get a price quote to just live stream this existing stream that already exists that you're recommending they turn off. And then if they either refuse to give us a price or, the price is still $30,000, then we respond in turn.
I just feel that until that time, that no one should be privy unless everybody has access.
I mean, is it not the case that Victor has the ability to hit that button?
He does. That's what I'm asking
And then-
for.
I mean, I don't know that we need a motion out of this committee. I think it's probably within your power as chair.
I try to be as democratic as possible.
Well, so I guess it would be. So I'm just worried that our agenda item is limited to the quality of the video stream and resolution, and that we may put it in a position.
I am fine. If you have objections to that, I will put it on the main task force agenda. We can have a little further discussion, bring up some of the issues we've learned here, and decide what kind of action we want to do at that point.
Right. I will probably make the same suggestion to the full task force that I just made.
Right. No, I hear you. I'd like to know just a little bit more about if we were able to get one stream from one camera, where would that be broadcast? You're saying that would be broadcast on SF.gov TV?
Well, I mean, I want to get someone to, because we have a price of $30,000 to make the meetings live streamed.
Right.
And I want someone to actually do the work to price out how much to, basically literally plug the channel into an ITV and then, or I don't know how the ins and outs of our media streaming provider work, but it's a simple procedure to do.
Yeah.
And so I want someone to be forced to come up with, that's going to cost us $500 a year or whatever it is.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then if we do decide to cut off the camera to the other things, it's like, well, you could just pay $500 and give the public access.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah. No, I would totally agree with that. Any opportunity we have to publicize the meetings, let's go forth and do that. Absolutely. So, okay.
So do we need to take a motion, or do you need to retract the motion?
No, no, there was no second, so the motion dies. And I'll just put it on our main agenda. If you take a note of that, Victor.
That works. So public comment, is that what comes up next?
Yeah.
Seeing none, I guess thank you very much for coming today. It was very
much.
informative.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just to clarify, this matter was heard by the committee. No action was taken by this committee, and I will work with Chair Wolf to schedule this before the full task force.
Excellent.
Next on the agenda, item number 5. File number 17065, hearing, Police Department's GovQA system and software for managing and responding to public records request.
Hello.
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 So my name is Sergeant Youngblood. I am with the legal division here with.
Lieutenant Catherine, is this one on?
No.
Lieutenant Catherine Walland, Legal Division.
Sorry, could the gentleman say his name again, please?
Stacy Youngblood.
Okay, great. So I guess we're here to talk about the GovQA system and how it works. I think this came to our attention both because members of the committee had, in their private lives, had filed public records requests and had discovered that there was this, new system. And then I know somebody had tweeted at me about the new system, and we had some concerns about how it operated and what the flow was for handling public records requests. So I was wondering if we could start, if you could just walk us through the user experience, what happens in the process if somebody files a public records request with the city, both through the system but also through any other sort of means.
Sure. So I think you have a handout. Mm-hmm. So what you're looking at is the public records request front page for the legal division. Keep in mind that nothing has changed. This has only been added. People can still fax in a PRA. They can still email. They can still call. They can still come in person. This is just an additional way that people can make a PRA request, which is online.
But if somebody faxes or emails you, what happened with me is that I got enrolled in the system.
Correct.
Why is that?
Because this is how we track all of our PRAs now. So everything is tracked within the system. So if we get a fax, we get a phone call, we enter it into the system so that we can keep track of it.
And then the person is then forced into the system as well. The user who wanted to communicate via mail, or the user who wanted to communicate via fax, or the user who wanted to deal with it in person needs to deal with this system.
Not if they don't want to. I mean, forced as in to use the system, no. Forced as where they're entered into the system like they would be forced to be entered into our Excel spreadsheet, yes.
Right. Okay. It just seemed when I did it that I had to go and create an account to deal with the rest of my public records requests, even though I hadn't filed it through this system.
Likewise.
Yeah, and there is a way to submit anonymously, which is below making an account, or you can do it the old-fashioned way of faxing it or emailing legal directly.
Well, I guess just to sort of back that up.
Sorry.
So the anonymous thing I have some other concerns about. But, sorry, do you want to go ahead?
Well,
I want to get to the anonymous thing in a moment.
I'm not on the anonymous thing. I'm on the email thing. So if I send an email to the SFPD saying I want public records related to, what was ordered for lunch today or whatever it is, and I'd like email, and in my request I say I'd like these records emailed to me. Do I receive let's say I say a PDF of those records emailed to me. Do I receive a PDF attachment, or do I receive an email from this automated system with a link to click on to download the attachment?
Both. Your email will have an attachment of the responsive documents, and it will have instructions on how to log into the portal to download them from there.
So if I file the request, I'm processing the system on your end, but I don't actually have to use the system to retrieve my records.
Correct.
Great.
Yeah, I don't think I was given the records, and I was just given a link at the time. Were you given the records?
No, I was not given the records, and I was not able to connect with any specific person either. So if I want to make a request of a specific person who I know is a custodian or might have those records, when I call, or if I call, because Sunshine Ordinance allows me to, or any member of the public, to make a verbal request, not writing, or if I send an email to a specific person on it, I'll be redirected back to your portal system every time.
What specific, you mean a legal assistant you're calling?
No, anybody in the police department. They will say, please go and file your request at this link, and the link takes me to this page.
Mm-hmm. That's because the legal division handles the public records request, so it would come to us no matter what. They would send them to us. So a member of the public cannot make a direct request of an employee of the city, of the police department? A direct request to one of the police officers
to any city employee that works in the police department.
They would be referred to the legal division to make the public records, because they're not going to have access, nor are they the record keepers.
I don't understand it.
The legal division is the custodian of record for the San Francisco Police Department.
Yeah, that's if there's a general request that's made of the police department. But if I make a request of you particularly, and I want a piece of information that I believe that you may have.
Well, other departments don't have the systems in place. The system allows us to show that we've received your request, send you the response. We have received your public records request as required by law, create a timeline so we can answer you within the appropriate time period, whereas other people don't have those systems in place. And then if you were to come back later and say, where's my request? and it wasn't logged anywhere, we'd have no way to look it up to get back to you. So that's why there's a central processing
I
for
understand,
requests.
but there are dozens of other departments that don't have this particular system, and people are free to email whoever they want or send a written request to whoever they want. That custodian, that person must respond, not some process or system that is instituted. That's how the law is written. That custodian must respond, not some other person. And that's one of the problems that we have here is when people other than the custodian are sent to represent, and then they don't have all the information. It bogs down the sunshine process, the sunshine complaint process. So that's why it's written the way it is, and that's the way it's written in state law also. It's the person who has custody of the record itself is responsible for producing that record, unless I ask a general question of SFPD. Then it's whatever global or general process that you use, which could be this type of system.
Well, so let me tell you what happened with mine with this system. So I use a site called Muckrock to file my public records requests. You probably have gotten requests through Muckrock in the past because I can see that you've gotten probably dozens and dozens of these. So when I filed it, I got the message back and then had to go try to set up my account to get my records. And it ended up generating a password for me, emailing it to Muckrock, and then publishing it, because Muckrock publishes all of my communications on a public records request live on the internet. Suddenly my temporary password was live on the internet because you guys were using the same channel to do that. I wanted to know what kind of information you're entering into the system of, what kind of personal information about a person you're entering into the database when they file a public records request into the GovQA system.
Would be whatever you supply to us.
And does that go to a third party?
No.
So that stays within the system, the computer systems of the of the city of San Francisco.
Correct.
Okay.
How does it do that if you're using GovQA as the provider to handle this? Doesn't it go to GovQA's computer system?
You mean as the vendor, do they have access to?
Well, I mean, and maybe I misunderstood Member Moss's question, but it sounded like he was asking if it leaves the dominion of San Francisco.
It looks to me like it leaves the system. I mean, based on just how the architecture is on the website, that things are going to a site called mycusthelp.com, not on the city of, not SFGov or San Francisco Police.org.
A third party.
Yeah, it seems like it's getting stored on a third-party site.
It's stored on our servers, but a third-party vendor is what we use.
So is it stored at mycusthelp.com?
No, it's stored on our servers. I don't know the technical knowledge or tell you why it comes from that particular.
Does it pass through mycusthelp.com?
I don't know how to answer that question.
Well, and mycusthelp.com is actually, I believe, a third party of GovQA.
Yes, that's my concern here is that I file a letter with my address, cell phone number, fax number, all that sort of stuff with SFPD, and it may be public record or it may not be public record, but then if SFPD is putting it through a system in which it's being submitted to a third party, that can be problematic, I think.
Well, it actually says here at the bottom in the footer, GovQA is an SFPD authorized third-party vendor which provides public records request services.
Yeah.
SFPD accepts no liability for the accuracy of the content on the linked GovQA web pages. So it's a third-party vendor.
Well, technically, they're saying they're not guaranteeing the accuracy of the record. That's a strange disclaimer if you parse it.
It's like a standard disclaimer.
Right, it's a standard disclaimer, but in this context, it's...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think there are concerns that I have, especially when there's a password created and who has access to that password. whether GovQA has access to it, whether it's SFPD who has access to it. And those are probably things that need to appear in SFGov's privacy policy, or the police department's privacy policy, or so one would think. Why can't you, if you file anonymously, why does it why do you have to have your confirmation number? Like, does it just disappear as a request if you lose your confirmation number?
No, but if you call legal and you've submitted it anonymously, how am I going to look you up if you don't have that number?
If I describe my public records request and what day I filed it, I mean, we deal with anonymous people all the time here. We don't force them to have a number.
Well, that number is what's assigned to that request.
So
I guess if you're saying, can you call up an illegal assistant and say, I have this request, and here was what it were, can they search that way? Yes. But
it says here, if you lose your confirmation number, you will need to submit a new request. Is that actually true? If I've lost it and I call you up and I'm like, I'm sorry I lost it. I filed it on July 25th, 2017. It was about police officer, the police officer's policy on X, Y, and Z. Can you please get me my records? Or
I can tell you, most people who file anonymously aren't calling us, nor are they talking to us, and they're not communicating with us in any way. That's why we tell them that they need this number. That way we can track it. They can email us from whatever they want to. They can write us a letter. They can fax it, and then we can look it up. But if they call us and they're telling us this is what I submitted, then yes, we can go into the search function. We can look up what it was, and then we can proceed from there.
Yeah, this is like if you were to go for anonymous HIV testing. Mm-hmm. There'd be no names passed. You get a number, and only the number is tracked, but not your identity.
Those are health records. This is a public records request, right?
Right.
But it's saying that you will need to submit a new request, and I feel like that is not consistent with, the Sunshine Ordinance and the California Public Records Act says you can file a public records request anonymously. It doesn't say you can file a public records anonymously if you hang on to the number, a 12-digit number that the police department gives you, and if you lose it, you lose your rights to file anonymously. Mm-hmm. That doesn't seem to me like it's accurate.
You could just say a request saying I filed a request, I forgot. You could submit another anonymous request saying I forgot my request number. If you don't want to call.
But then that re-triggers the 14 days.
But it sounds to me like you're saying that if instead it said, for faster response and convenience, please keep your confirmation number handy, would not be a problem in your mind,
or
right?
Or it says if you lose your confirmation number, you'll have trouble accessing the system, please call us at, because there's nothing confidential about it in the sense, if I call up and I say, hey, I know somebody anonymously filed this public records request, do you have the records on it? You still have to give it to me because, it belongs to everyone.
So I'd like to go one step a little bit deeper. If I want to file anonymously, and I use the link in here to do that, and then I'm given a code to hang on to, which seems to be the process, is my IP address recorded? So there's no tracking information online that's being recorded by this third-party system? Okay.
Well, how would you know if GovQA was recording the IP or not?
Because we had quite a sit-down with them before we chose them as a vendor, and they talked about, and privacy one of the things that we talked about.
Okay, great. I just was wanting to make sure.
Is that part and parcel to the contract?
I don't know.
Okay.
How do you do this? If I filed anonymously a public records request in the mail or, where there wasn't a way to give me this number, how do you deal with it at that point?
You're talking about how did we do this prior to
No,
GovQA?
well, maybe that's a good way to do it. But let's say I walk in off the street and I say, hey, I'm not going to give you my name, not going to give you my address, but I want to file a public records request, and I'll come back in person in 10 days or 14 days and check with you. Do you still enroll this anonymous request in the system?
Yes.
And then how does the person retrieve the records if they don't have the number at that point?
Then they would have to have a description of what they requested.
Okay.
Well, and it would be provided in the manner that if you said, I'm making this request and I want to to pick them, I'm going to come back in 10 days and pick them up from this window, then that's how the records would be provided, or a response. If you're not using the portal to make your request, you have to say how you want to pick them up. If you don't say how you want them, then that's how you're going to, we would give you a number and say, hey, you can access this, or you can come back in 10 days, and we may or may not have been able to locate them, and we may give you an extension letter at that point, I mean, this is to help people. It's not to...
Yeah, we get that. The problem is that it provides kind of a layer of shield where the actual employees cannot be, to me, the employees cannot be accessed directly. Like, for instance, if there was a directory in there for every single employee in SFPD, and I can then choose that person and then send them, they would get the message, they would actually get the request. I wouldn't have any concern, I would have far less concerns. Because that at least would provide me with the ability to make contact with that person directly. Instead, what's happening here is if I say, investigator so-and-so was working on this particular case, the case is now over, I want, some notes that they had taken that is now not work product anymore, it's part of the record, public record. I want to be able to contact that person directly and say, I'm making a request for these notes that you had taken on this or that day, so on and so on. Instead, I got to go through this system, and now it's got to be filtered through the legal division to do all that work. Question is are you able to make a turnaround time of the required 10 days to do it? And
Yes.
that's the question.
Because no matter who you ask for something, a lot of our documents are subject to exemptions. We have, sexual assault, we have domestic violence, we have a lot of things that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And they need to check with legal before they release it anyway. This provides a way for us to track it.
Well,
Someone's assigned to do that. An inspector that works up a tuning schedule or goes on vacation or may not be available. We get the request, so-and-so's on vacation, so-and-so's out of the office for whatever reason, then we can say, we're not able to do it, then the 10, allows us to provide that 10 and 14-day response where individuals may not be able to do that. And that's one of the problems when we're getting people sending it to individuals as opposed to like someone that they can then reach out to the individuals and provide the response to the requester.
But it is completely the responsibility of the custodian to do that. That's their job. When they take a job with the city here in San Francisco, that is part and parcel of their responsibility under the Sunshine Ordinance.
Yeah, but police officers don't work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. So someone may not get a request for 4 or 5 days. It may impact their ability. They may have to order something from storage.
They have 7 days minimum to respond, at least to just say, I got your response. These records are contained in this other department. It's going to take me 10 days, or I'm on vacation.
And that's what our legal assistants do, because if someone's on vacation or they've had a surgery or something, and you just send them a letter and it's just sitting on their desk, they're not able to.
I hear you. But this
provide
is not unique just to SFPD. I mean, there's other departments that process sunshine requests all day long. Planning, Rec and Park, DPW. I mean, there's a lot of departments, and they have lots of legal stuff. They have to do with RFPs that are, they're required to redact a lot of information, depending upon where it is in the process, or personnel issues that need to be redacted for whatever reasons. We just had a case together around that. So, I mean, this is not about one specific kind of information or another. This is just a matter of just the simple process. And at bare bones, if somebody wanted to make a request of a specific person, an engineer at the PUC, and they wanted to find out about a particular valve that was going to be installed in their street in front of their house, and they wanted to know how long that was going to take, okay, they could have access to that engineer directly who has that information and give it to them. And if the engineer says, you know what, I can't reveal, where it exactly is going to be located because of Homeland Security, this or that.
I just want to clarify, the requests are still going to the individuals that have the records. They're just being processed in a way that allows us to stay within this time frame. So the person is still providing the records. The engineer is still being asked. It's just that engineer may work out on the street and not work at a desk, and so they can't,
But that's the point. Is the access to the employee itself is mandatory.
The portal does not stop you from talking to, reaching out to an employee.
How if I make a request for a specific person, I was not able to do that through his portal. It did not give me a place
Well,
to...
then you would do it in the other, manner. This is not blocking you from doing this. Everybody that we have had a great experience with people using this and be able to provide the timely response. And then when we come here, we can say, hey, this is when we receive the request. This is when we have the email.
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that.
Yeah.
For people who are making general requests of SFPD, I'm saying that if I call and I say, I want this kind of information. It's purely administrative. That is not parcel of any investigation. It's like what are the hours of the building? That 850 Bryant Street is open, and where are the bathrooms located? Something as simple as that. Doesn't have to be redacted. Doesn't have to really go through legal. But the receptionist on the phone doesn't know. So who do I speak to? Well, it's building management. Okay, can you transfer me to building management? Is this, and I'd like to make a sunshine request on this. Well, you need to go to this portal. No, I don't want to go to the portal. I want to speak to the person. I will never be transferred to that person. I will just be blocked at every turn from my request to even speak to a person in building management. They will force me into the system, and that's some of the concern that we're having here. Is how do we get access to the person directly? And it shouldn't be through through some proxy.
These sound like two different issues. You're talking about being able to speak to someone or being able to ask for a document.
It's the same difference. I can verbally request.
This is to enable you to request documents, and if you want to arrange a meeting with someone, then you would have to go through their secretary.
It's the same thing. If I make a verbal request for any information, written or verbal or otherwise, it's the same difference. If somebody's going to say you can't talk to that person, you have to go through this portal system, then that is what I'm talking about. That shouldn't happen.
Well, then maybe you should request. This request was sent to the legal division to talk about this, and that's not something I can't talk about something that's outside of my office.
Can I?
Go ahead.
So if I have a public records request that says, a copy of the public records request website, and I've written down a request for a printout of the public records request website, and I'm walking down the street and I hand it to an SFPD officer in an envelope that says public records request, is that officer instructed to do anything in particular with that request? What happens when I hand that to a random officer on the street?
I don't know that I have an answer for that question. They would probably forward it to the legal division for processing. An officer on the street is not going to have this. This was created for you. This is not
no, and I think it's fine for them to hand it to the legal department in processing as long as the request gets responded to. But my concern is that they're going to say, I don't deal with public records requests. You need to talk to legal. And I'm not sure that is in accordance with the way the Sunshine Ordinance is written. So I don't know for a fact what happens if you hand a random officer an envelope and say it's a public records request. But it seems to me that it is the obligation of legal to instruct officers to comply with receiving the request and, I guess, handing it to you guys to process.
We do have department bulletins, I believe, that address public records requests. We came tonight prepared to talk about this system, so that's the responses that we brought with us.
Sure, I understand it may be outside of what you were expecting.
If you have additional questions, I don't have any resources available to me to research anything. So, if you provide me something in writing, then I can research it. I can reach out to other people. I can ask a random person what they would do. You can go to the website and look up department policies regarding this, but I don't have that stuff with me.
Certainly.
We just brought the handouts regarding GovQA, and we wanted to try to talk about that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So looking through this, it doesn't seem like this system allows a individual to identify it as an IDR. Is that something that you are able to do with GovQA to add a field in this request thing about whether this is a normal request or an immediate disclosure request?
I believe if it's an IDR, they have to state in the request that it's an IDR. Mm-hmm. And there is a place where it says, what records are you requesting? Anybody who has submitted an IDR has stated that in that body of that. This is an IDR and what they've requested.
Well, that may be so. But it's the box says. The box says describe the records requested, and people who are familiar with IDRs, are probably just putting it there because there's no other box with which to put just free text like that. But certainly, I think that for the sake of the FFPD being able to track the time that it responds to people, having an IDR field would both allow you to generate statistics afterwards about how many IDR requests that you receive through the system versus regular requests, as well as being able, if this is actually a system that's supposed to help you manage the response time properly, having an IDR versus a regular field would probably allow you to do that better, I would imagine. Do you have the ability to add an IDR field in this list of fields on this page? It looks like you've got incident number. Could you add what type of request is this? Is it an IDR or a regular PRA?
Yeah, you can add those type of fields, but then you're getting into stuff where people don't know, is this what an IDR is? So then they're going to just say, yeah, this is an IDR.
People don't necessarily know.
People who are asking for an IDR usually know why they're asking for an IDR, and they state that.
I know, but so you guys are doing it as I'm just trying to look at, So it's so the thing has to be at the top of the request and on the envelope in the subject line or cover sheet, and this request system doesn't have envelope, subject lines, or cover sheets. And so what I'm wondering is if there's a way for you to identify where a person is supposed to say IDR, because currently there's no box, there's no subject line box. Right? If you had a subject line entry, then somebody could put it there. It does say you can put it at the top of the request, but, when you have an online field on this, what exactly is the top of the request? And you're saying that people have been putting it in the describe the records requested, but that's just kind of a guess.
No, actually, it's required in two places.
Yeah.
One is either on the envelope, the subject line, like in an email, or a cover sheet, and then it's got to be across the top of before, as part of the heading, or the header of the request.
Right. But when you have something like this where there's all these different fields.
Right. No, I hear what you're saying. I would, there's a section off to the right on the right column where it offers the reference number, and this is create date and update date. This is required completion date that looks like it's editable. There's a calendar icon there. And then it says current SLA start date, says service level agreement. I guess that's what SLA stands for. And it says request age, and then request days left. So it looks like that's by default it's 10 days, which is standard for Sunshine.
Is that thing on the side? Does this thing change when it's an IDR?
Well, we read every single one of them. So if somebody states it's an IDR, then yes, we would change it.
So you adjust the completion date. It's not an automatically generated thing.
Correct.
Okay.
And are you checking these daily? Is this something managed daily?
A lot more than daily, but yes, we do check them.
Great. Good. Thank you.
Do we have a motion or? No, I'm not sure we necessarily need one, but I thought I would ask.
I've got one last question, and I don't know whether you happen to have an answer. I understand that you may not have prepared for this. But you were talking about the various ways that public records requests come in. And we had a case, I don't know, about a year ago about someone who was trying to make a request to the police department through Twitter. Does the police department at this point have a policy on how to deal with public records requests that come through Twitter?
I believe that after that came through, the Twitter is handled by their media relations unit. I believe that they have a unit order. I could be wrong on exactly the manner that it came down, but now their policy is, if it comes through Twitter, that it is taken as a public records request. But media relations also uses this system, so they would then enter it into GovQA.
Great. I just sort of wanted to follow up and see what had happened with that case, so thank you.
How long have you been using this system?
For a year, since May of 2016.
At some point, would you be able to generate statistics on how many requests you've received through the system, how many have been entered through the system, what the average time for response is, that sort of thing, so we could see, just to get a good idea of what the...
That was one of your questions, I believe, that was on here.
Oh.
That we had from May 9th, the date that we went live, 2016, and I ran this for June 16th. We had 1,048 PRAs.
1,040. Do you know how many of those were originated with the system and how many of them were entered into the system?
Yeah.
Okay. And how many of them, so have there been any that have just, where there have been glitches that have resulted in, like where there have been technical errors with GovQA that have resulted in people not getting their records or a public records request being lost?
I think there's a learning curve for anybody that makes a lot of PRA requests and you put something out there new. Mm-hmm. We haven't had anybody complain. Nobody has called and complained. We have had people call and say, I didn't get my records, and then we just kind of talk them through how to do it, or we email them directly to them. And that's kind of when we started doing the emailing, the attachments at the exact same time that they do the portal. So they get it both ways now.
Do you have an idea of what the average response time is for this? I mean, is everything coming in on the last day, or are things coming in faster because of the system?
You mean, is it processed within the 10 days?
No, I mean, what I'm curious is that has the providing public records, has that time reduced, or is it just always, has the system made it faster for you? Like, have people been getting, do you have quantifiable data to show that?
I don't think that we have quantifiable data, but I know, recently, I think there was a week or six weeks ago, there was someone that had a problem that mailed something, and they said they mailed it on a certain date. We timestamp stuff when we receive it, and it can, it was 4 days after they postmarked it. This allows, a timestamp immediately. So I don't know. I mean, I think that when we're processing them, but allows the requester to have that response that we received their request, because they do get the automated response. We receive your request, but we're processing it. So they have that confirmation as opposed to the request never making it to us, getting sent to an employee that's no longer with us, it's on vacation, or so I think it's been more efficient that way, but we don't have stats as to
Sure.
Has it cut time.
When does the GovQA contract end?
We just renewed it.
You just renewed for how long?
5 years.
For 5 years. And how was the first one was just a year thing?
Yeah, it was during the body camera rollout. So it was kind of just like a 1 year for the body camera rollout. That was basically why we took on a PRA system, because of the anticipated high number of PRAs that were going to come from the body camera and how to track those. So we just did it for 1 year, and then we renewed it after that.
All right, well, I guess we'll ask questions about that in just a minute or so. Does anybody have anything else? Nope. All right, public comment. Seeing none, if there are no motions, then I think we can move on to the next item.
Yeah.
All right.
No action was taken on this matter. Next on the agenda is item number 6, file number 17066, hearing Police Department Officer Body Camera Policy and Compliance with the Sunshine Ordinance.
Does anybody want to start with the body cam stuff?
So I give you handouts for this, so the Department General Order. It's page 6. And it says, it's number 3. So I think it's I-3, 3 of Department General Order 10.11, body-worn cameras. Non-departmental requests. A, the department shall accept and process PRA requests in accordance with the provisions of federal, state, and local statutes and department policy. The members shall provide discovery requests related to rebooking, processing, transferring BWC recording to the requesting agency by using the server where the BWC recording is stored. And when requested by OCC, members of legal division shall provide the BWC recordings consistent with the Police Commission's document protocol policy on OCC routine request. So that's kind of covers our public and how the flow of the information outside of the department.
So earlier in the document in section I, there's a description of sort of the philosophy of duplication and description, and there's 3 subpoints under section 1. Are those the guidelines used? Do those guidelines have anything to do with section where we just were about the PRA requests, or is that not connected?
This is item 3 under the same
section,
it's I,
right?
At 1, 2.
So those
3.
are the principles that are going to govern whether or not something's released in conjunction with it meeting the state and federal laws.
The San Francisco item I-1, the San Francisco Police Department's goal is to release BWC recordings to the greatest extent possible unless disclosure would A, endanger the safety of a witness or another person involved in the investigation, B, jeopardize the successful completion of an investigation, or C, violate local, state, and other federal laws, including but not limited to the right of privacy.
Right. So I just wanted to make sure that that's governing non-departmental requests as well. I mean, I don't know how departmental requests are made, but that's not within our jurisdiction. But that section applies to non-departmental requests as well.
Correct.
Great. And then under retention, I see that all recordings are kept for a minimum of 60 days. And then there's some exceptions where it would need to be held for 2 years. If someone were to have an altercation with a police officer, how long do they have under city policy to file a complaint in order for it to be investigated, et cetera?
How long do they have?
Right. So, if I get pulled over today and I don't like my experience with the officer, how long do I have to file a complaint before it's I'm sorry, that complaint is too old, it's outside of our policy?
There's no limit.
There's no limit.
You could file a complaint for something that happened 20 years ago. We have 1 year to investigate it from the time that we learn of your complaint.
And so how was the 60-day retention policy for things that hadn't already been earmarked otherwise determined?
State law.
Which
correct?
Which element of state law?
I don't know. I did not create the policy.
Okay. And how many...
Our current retention, that's the minimum. So we can have stuff, for longer. If we get a litigation hold, we get a complaint. That's an arrest, it can be retained for longer.
Right. Well, that's what goes on in the next paragraph of how it needs to be retained.
Yeah.
So currently, what's the process for the stuff that's over 60 days and hasn't been earmarked? Is there someone every day that's going in and deleting everything from the 61st day that doesn't need to be kept? Or what's the...
No, it deletes through the system. Currently, we're having our minimum retention period at 120 days. And it just falls off the system, the server just falls off.
Right, so right now it's 120 days, but you could scale it back up to 60 days, and then anything that's marked just is exempt from that automatic deletion process, presumably.
If something has a retention period that's higher, it will not automatically queue to delete.
Great.
So we have to handle requests for, complaints, litigation holds, arrests, and we create higher retention periods for those.
Right. And do you have a sense of how many requests, just ballpark number, have been made for body cam footage from the department?
No. I don't know. That's why I asked for questions prior.
That's
so I
fine.
could
That's fine.
research it, yeah.
Do you have a sense as to whether most of that footage is being turned over? Some, hardly any. I'm just trying to get an understanding of like what percentage of these requests are being fulfilled, and I don't need an actual.
Can we back up for just a second? We just heard in the last item that GovQA was contracted because you expected a large volume of requests related to body cam footage, and then the contract was extended another 5 years, but there's no information or thoughts about whether this predicted large swell of body cam requests
We
actually
process a great deal of body camera footage, but we process it pursuant to different things. So we process it pursuant to subpoenas, to DPA, OCC, public records requests, civil litigation.
Well, how many requests
I did ask, prior to me coming, then I can look things up, but I can't. I don't want to give a number that I haven't looked up.
We just learned from the previous item just a second ago that the reason, we didn't know this before, that GovQA was used for public records requests specifically because of the body cam stuff. So what I'm just wondering is that whether you actually did get a large number of body cam requests like you predicted, and why that necessitated getting GovQA.
I wouldn't be able to. We process a lot of footage, and it's entered in GovQA for tracking purposes.
So GovQA handles both public records requests and
subpoenas and all of this
stuff like that.
We do log some of our other stuff in there. Yes.
Is it discrete inside GovQA? Like, can you see just public records requests and the other stuff, or is it all in discrete data?
Like, can you see it all at once, or is it all
I believe I can look up
categorically?
all public records requests. I don't know if I can sort for body camera only.
Right, but like if you're tracking, requests that are turned over in discovery inside a GovQA product, that even if it's the same interface, those are two discrete dashboards, or you're able to see subpoena information separate from, or discovery turnover separate from public records requests, or is it all intermixed in the same system?
Are you asking, if you're asking like we have a legal assistant.
Can you go to the mic?
We have a legal assistant who would handle a PRA, and that legal assistant is assigned that PRA in GovQA. And we have another legal assistant who would deal with the city attorney and discovery. So they don't have equal access to where she can see everything this one's doing, he can see everything that one's doing. They have access to what they're working on.
Right. My question is, so it looks, if you go to GovQA's website, it looks like the subpoenas software is a different software than the public records request software, but maybe that's just the way they advertise their solution. If the police department wanted to answer my question of how many public records requests for body cam footage had been complied with versus not complied with, are you going to have to sift out all of the discoveries, which is a completely different bar for what you have to turn over, or are public records requests in a discrete database or discretable database from subpoenas and these in-department requests and other things that are going to have a much different...
We can sort them. That's how we were able to give you that number of 1,048. What we can't sort them by is what the content of the requests was.
But so you're not logging in. What is storing the body cam footage? Like, where does the body cam footage live?
The server is the evidence.com server.
And so evidence.com doesn't have a log. You can't look at the evidence.com to see how many times something has been exported for presentation outside the system?
You would not be able to discern if it was for a PRA.
Okay.
Is that evidence.com Axon?
Yes,
Wait, so all this footage is stored locally or on the cloud?
cloud.
So all of the videos that are being gathered by the police department exist in a cloud that's theoretically isn't accessible through any hacking, but it all exists through a network connection. When the police department downloads something, they're pulling it off of the internet. Correct?
It's not a SFGov server.
Right.
I don't understand your question. You're saying the video footage that's on the camera goes by cloud to the evidence.com servers.
I'm just confirming that that's the case.
Yeah, well, it is. It uploads
Right.
to their servers. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the reason I was kind of surprised to hear that is that I made a video about a documentary about the Oakland body cams when they first got them. And maybe they've changed their process. It was quite a few years ago. But, like, it was literally plugging into a computer, and there was a computer with a network device attached to it. So all the video was staying inside this locked room in the police department. So it just sort of was a bit surprising to hear that it's all going.
They use a different vendor.
Right.
And I could plug this into a computer, and it would look like it's going to that computer, but I believe that it's going to, it doesn't get sucked off the camera into a cloud. You still have to plug it into something. But it is a cloud-based system.
Great.
I have a question.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
So I want to get back to retention for a second. Case file. What's the retention policy on a case file once the case is closed and it's put into storage?
I mean, the retention can be set to.
I'm not going to
Yeah,
include the
there's-
video, not the video footage at this
But
point, just the general.
I would have to have a copy of I don't have a copy of the retention policy with me.
Okay.
I know that they're in the process of,
Okay, so
looking at that, but as you're asking for about case files.
I mean, if I asked about a case going back 25 years, would it be in your possession?
Not likely. I don't have
Really?
the policy in front of me. This is,
Okay.
I try. If you
Okay.
ask me, I can bring stuff with me, but I don't have it in front
Okay.
of me. I mean, a lot of things are 2 years, 7 years.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's online.
All right. I guess my concern is consistency of the body cam footage or any other medium, any other extension or technology that is attached to a case, that the retention of that record could be different than the retention of the actual written record of the case. And that's what I'm a little concerned about in reading some of the language in your policy here, and because this is all more or less independent of the case. It would be in reference to the case, but the retention policy is not the same as the actual case file, the primary case file. I'm a little concerned why there's that disconnect.
Like I said, I did not create the policy.
Who did?
So,
Who created the policy?
I mean, the police commission and a committee,
Okay.
and the city attorney, and a lot of people. Before I was transferred to legal, I was not part of the committee that did that.
Okay.
The police commission is the only one that can institute
Okay.
a general order. The police department cannot.
All right, then
so-
maybe we'll ask them.
Yeah,
Okay,
that would.
great. Okay, thank you.
When you went over these three things: the endanger the safety of a witness, jeopardize the successful completion of investigation, or violate the right to privacy. Who's making those decisions?
The city attorney.
And do they have like a guidelines of what they believe would do they have standards for what would violate the right of privacy or what would endanger the safety of a witness? Like, is there something for them to go off of, or is it just whoever happens to be looking at it that day?
I mean, every single one's case by case, so it depends what the video is related to. If it was related to an active investigation, I would have to ask the investigator, if they had concerns about releasing it. What are the concerns? Does it fall under something that's protected by state law or a requirement?
So
of
the process
law?
is that goes to the city attorney makes the decision, but the city attorney talks with.
Well, any
the,
redaction or exemption that we make it's not, unless it's 100, very standard redaction, I will discuss, or have one of the legal assistants discuss with our general counsel to confirm that we're complying with the law.
So SFPD makes the redactions or makes the call on these three things, or the city attorney's office. I'm just confused.
The city attorney's office approves them
Approves
or
them.
tells us what we cannot release. Like juvenile arrest records
Right.
are prohibited and require a court order. So she would give me the language that I need to give the person a response as to why I'm not able to provide the documents. I have to evaluate what do the documents contain. The body-worn camera footage is just like any other piece of paper as far as what redactions would have to be applied, right to privacy. Creates additional problems because you are going to people's homes. You're not always on the street. Members of the public did not, they call us sometimes the worst time of their lives. And many of those things like domestic violence, sexual assault, we're prohibited from releasing. So we have to evaluate everyone, and everyone is different.
So I just want to say that the ordinance, it's very specific on redactions, that they could have the city attorney or another party actually physically do the redactions on their behalf.
Yeah. What I'm curious is that do you let the requester know which of these three things it was that you decided to withhold them?
Whenever
do you say that we are not releasing this because it would endanger the safety of a witness, or we are not releasing because it would?
We always provide the law associated with the reason for not providing a response.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it. Sorry, were you waiting?
Well,
Go ahead.
just right off of
Sure.
So you provide the law, but why do you not actually reply with which of these A, B, or C is involved in that? Because obviously the law is much vaguer than these much more clear explanations as to why that footage was redacted.
Well, the law, I believe, covers most of these things are covered in.
They are. This is a more specific. Like, the law is more general in the way that it's framed. I think ongoing investigation or something close to that is the. Do you remember the wording that?
Not off the top of my head. No.
But it's something along the lines of this: the material you've requested could jeopardize an ongoing investigation, whereas each of these in A, B, and C is more specific. So I'm wondering why not be more specific to the requester so they understand not only why that footage was denied, but what footage they could, how to more carefully articulate their request to get what they're looking for.
I don't know that would comply with. I mean, I don't know that our department policies relate to the release of public records requests, and it's that I can cite them. I think that my requirement is to cite the law that prohibits me or the reason for not disclosing something.
Well, but it also has to do with redaction. So if in a particular record there may be only one line that you might determine, or the city attorney might determine not releasable, but the rest of the document can be.
Yes. So, for instance, CLETs.
Right.
If we were to release, somebody wanted footage of their traffic stop, I cannot release CLETs, and that would be redacted.
To be clear, what you're saying is that when the body camera is pointed at the
Computer screen
in the car.
Yes. So
Right.
the screen would be blurred out.
Right.
And then they would get the response, and it would say redactions have been made, because of this.
Okay, I think the question was, I was all of a sudden hearing you say it was either going to be either we release it or we don't release it, and there would be no
we
in
do
between.
release things, and we
Okay.
do blur things.
Okay, great. So
And if anything that's blurred, we provide a reason why. But if we can't, he was asking about things that we were not going to release.
right. Okay, I have a question along that line.
Sure. So we're going to have to move on before too long if we're going to
Right.
get through the rest of the agenda.
Right, no problem. So, with regards to raw footage, is there ever an edited version of body cam footage? Do you edit it before release, or are you releasing the raw footage? I'm asking this because we've had some issues around the drone policy around that.
Well, we're not.
I know you're not.
We don't have a drone. I don't know anything about the drone policy.
No, I know, but this
so
is the same
our
public
redactions,
kind of record.
any redactions that we make, we specify what has been redacted and what we've used for the redaction.
But I'm talking about specifically edited, like it's organized in a certain way, or certain parts could be maybe you feel should be deleted.
We use it hasn't really come up that much, but if
Okay.
something, we would just black it out
Okay.
and say the
But
redactions have been made. We don't create films.
But
We just redact. We don't create a different product. I know that media for officer-involved shootings
Mm-hmm.
has released clips. Those are not pursuant to public records requests.
Mm-hmm.
No one represents that that's the entire
So
recording.
I'm talking about more like the time code. So it'll from whether you redact it or blur it out, whatever, the time code will continue to go. So if you hit an area where you've completely blacked it out, a person can still see the time code of the original time code?
Really come up. The time code would get impacted by a redaction. It doesn't superimpose on top of a redaction.
So I would proffer that you direct whoever is doing that work not to block the time code. That's part of the record, and there's nothing in the time code that would reveal.
Well, the time code is over the image. So if there was a child or a computer screen or something, because these cameras, this is a camera,
Right.
It doesn't stay still. So
But
this
the time
computer
code
screen,
stays still.
Are you
it does
recording
not-
now?
No, it does not stay still because the camera doesn't stay still.
Yeah.
So the image that's behind the time code, it's not like a ticker tape. It's over the image, and it is
You're talking
possible.
about it's like a big it could be 1/3 corner of the.
I don't know. You could
of
probably
the
go on
screen.
Vimeo right now and look up one of
Okay.
our videos, from one of our shootings, and it would show how it presents.
Okay.
The time code
but-
is physically burned onto the video.
I get it, but it's overlaid. I
Yeah,
get
I mean,
it.
we make every effort
Right.
not to, but there's no way I can guarantee that there's not going to be some image
Okay.
that it could be contained behind it that I would have, like
Got
it could be blood, there could be, something I would have to block out.
I envisioned it to be a little different, like it was on some special separated header
No.
along the top. Okay,
No,
'cause
it's just
I've
like a
seen it that
security
way.
video.
Okay, so I think that that's an important factor. I mean, I think just in general, I think that could cause you a lot of trouble legally by blocking the time code.
we make every effort to, the one of the things, CLETs, we will lose our access to CLETs if we release that information publicly. We
Right.
have to blur those computer screens
Yeah.
out. So if that time, you will still be able to see the event. It's more access than we've ever had before.
Yeah. I would just say for the purposes of making sure that the time code is visible at all times, that the developers of the software reorganize where that's placed.
We have a lot of things. We're not the.
No, I know,
ones
but you
doing
have
it,
when
so it'd
contract
be
time.
great. I know it'd be
but
great. Trust me, we have a lot of problems.
But this happens in the tech world all the time. When contract time comes up, or if it becomes so untenable, like it's causing you a lot of lawsuits because it's being blocked, or a lot of sunshine request violations because it's being blocked. I mean, then nobody knows. It's like there's a big gap in time, and you can't see the time code.
Yeah, it hasn't come up.
Okay.
So
All right.
it's not, like I said, it would be a rare circumstance. You'd be able to see that it was blurred. You could probably still make out that there was, something there.
Fair
But
enough.
we tend
I'll
to use
stop
blur for our.
I'll stop there.
You got anything else, Josh?
Not at this point.
Public comment. All All right, seeing none, I think we all good?
Yeah, good.
No motions, anything like that?
I would just urge that whatever we're discussing here, we give a pretty detailed report to the full task force.
Sure.
So if somebody wants to take it up as an issue.
So I don't know whether it makes sense to pursue this as a task force, or if it makes sense for a task force member to pursue this, or we should just, wait until it naturally comes before the task force. But it seems like while we understand the policy of how the footage is handled in public records requests, I don't have a solid sense as to the likelihood that people are going to get the footage that they're asking for, and so I'm not sure whether we should, essentially build a set of requests to sort of get a sense of what's likely to be denied, what's not, or whether we should just allow the public to engage with us. And
Well, here's one thing we can do. We can do this, in conjunction with the police department. We can have them create kind of a sample, and we could do a test run for whatever we think or we would anticipate a request might be with some of the questions that we have with regards to the policy, and then we can evaluate it from a sunshine lens.
I don't know whether a sample's actually going to get to the heart of the matter, because if we ask the police department to prepare a sample, they're not necessarily going to think of the things that aren't allowed. It's not that easy for them to.
But we can give them examples. We say, okay, in these 5 seconds, regard this as such and such.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, to me, it seems like analyzing the request for body cam footage that has come in and which ones were provided and which ones weren't is a more...
Okay, well, whichever way, I'm just making the suggestion, to help everybody out, on both sides of the aisle here. So it's just a suggestion. Sometimes it's good to run those things. I'm pretty sure that you guys have run some scenarios on this for this particular kind of purpose. Maybe not. You got some blank stares there, but
Well, I mean, we evaluate. We have a certain amount of resources to devote to this, and as they come in, we evaluate each one. I've found in my experience with all public records requests, there is no blanket answer. You have to look at each one and make an evaluation. I can't just tell the legal assistants, anytime we get, unless it was a juvenile, or, there's certain ones where
Very
we just
obvious,
cannot release information or, records on. So, and the system is so new that a lot of things would still be open.
Okay.
So, but people that are requesting them for traffic court, they get we always give it to them. We we haven't had any real problems. I haven't had.
It's not your department, but is Department of Parking and Traffic, are they wearing body cams? No. They are, okay. And what about it's a different question.
No, we gotta move on.
I'll ask it for another day. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sure.
It's not a different subject.
Yeah, no, so I think that we can go ahead and close this one out. I think that will probably be somebody at some point is going to file a complaint on this, and I'm sure we'll have a discussion. It will come up, and
we will have an opportunity to discuss it. I would just ask, we're happy to come and speak, but if you could, try. I know it's hard to imagine every possible scenario, to give us things that you're interested in, and then we can, like we were able to do for GovQA, try to come up with the answers or bring documents or department policies with me. I'm happy to do it. So.
It's just very hard for us sometimes. I mean, we hear this a lot.
But it's also hard for me because I can't do anything when I'm here. Yeah. I can't even get on my computer and look up a policy for you unless I print it out in advance.
We just don't necessarily know how this stuff works until someone comes in and explains it to us, and
or just choose to table it, and I can provide it to you in writing.
We're asked from time to time to review certain things, or to come and bring, do a trainings and things like that. If you feel at some point you have, there's a big question, even between what you think the answer is versus what the city attorney may give an answer, and you'd like an answer, maybe a third perspective, we're more than happy, one of our committees, very open, or we can create an ad hoc group to help you evaluate something from our perspective.
Okay.
Great. So we're going to close that out and say
I'll
thank you very much for
see you
coming
next
in
time.
today.
Thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
time. Really appreciate it.
This is really helpful.
All right, this is yours, I think.
Can we move on to the next item?
Next on the agenda, item number 7, file number 17052, hearing, creation of a Sunshine Ordinance Task Force database of order of determination, case law, and precedents.
So, Member Wolf, Member/Chair
Yep.
Wolf, you've been looking at this a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you have any update on it?
So I have not received an update, and I apologize. I have not pinged Clerk Calvillo recently as to whether maybe Victor can answer the question of whether
They performed an evaluation of the RFPs that were submitted.
right.
I believe that, I am guessing, but I believe they've assigned scores, and I'm not sure what the next step is.
Okay, so they're not quite through the RFP process, finishing up the RFP process yet. Okay, that's kind of what I anticipate at this point. So, not knowing what product they chose, it's hard to tell what we can do with it or how we would involve ourselves in it yet. So we'll have to wait. But I'm just wondering if there is any preparation work that maybe we should think about doing at this point. As far as collating or getting things organized in a certain kind of way, that any of us can do. I don't want to add to Victor's heavy caseload as it is already, his work queue, but anything that we might be able to do, since it's all public information at this point, we can get access.
You're talking about preparing the ingestion?
Yeah, like at least figuring out like what, either a taxonomy or figuring out, like we were talking a while back about creating, certain kinds of categories or classifications, that would make, or tagging system or things like that we might want to start that conceptually now, so that way when the time comes to implement, we're not,
It'd be nice if we could know whether or not, because I don't think we'll be able to integrate into their system without paying some additional money, however trifling it might be. And it'd be nice to get a sense that like the ability to take advantage of this will exist, as opposed to us prepping a database that then, they're like, oh, it's an extra $500, we're not paying it, and then we've prepped it, but.
Well, I think either way, this is something that we want and we need. If we're not able to get into their system, then we'll petition to a supervisor to carve out some money for something. But considering this is coming soon, I'm just, either way, we're going to have to start some preparation of something. And I'm just wondering if we should start with that at this point.
I mean,
I understand what you're saying, Josh. I just, I don't want to wait, because we could be waiting forever. And I think this is really important for all of us. So we're not making, we're not reversing precedent that the task force has already created, and we have the ability to be able to see what their rationale was in previous cases. Case law library basically is what it is.
I mean, I could see starting at first with, because you can always add new columns to a spreadsheet. You can always add new fields. A simple spreadsheet that has, column 1 is the file number, column 2 is who the complainant is. Column 3 is who's the complaint against, and maybe that has to be 3 columns if it's in multiple agencies. Then the next column is, what the alleged violation was, and then the final one is what the order of determination was. And just those simple things would at least be able to allow us to quickly categorize. Like we can, you can filter and see like how many have been against the Friends of the Public, the San Francisco Public Library, and then we could sort and say, well, how many of these have been, whatever, number violation, and that way we can at least. Oh, and sorry, a column of the date, obviously, and then we would at least be able to. It wouldn't tell us what the decision was, but at least it would give us a. We could sort.
You could put a link to the. The order of determination,
or the order of determination, or the, the order, like the final, whatever the final packet item was, plus the order of determination, maybe.
Let me ask Victor. How do you organize all the orders of determination?
In terms of the orders of determination, I really don't have a sorting system for them. We've made a recent change in that. We are now issuing orders even for items that we find no violations. We weren't doing that in the past. Mm-hmm. So online, if there is no violation, I just put a little note next to the word order of determination saying no violation.
But I'm saying just with regards to like organizing or list, do you have like a listing
I have a
of
master
everything?
Excel spreadsheet listing every single complaint filed, and I have the basic information, complainant, who's it against. I have recently started adding possible code sections of violations.
Okay.
I would say something like public records, just so that I know what it's about. And
are you able to create a specific kind of sorting or export of just orders of determination?
No, not through the Excel spreadsheet, but all orders, I just place them online.
Okay.
Well, it seems like basically the Excel spreadsheet that you're currently maintaining can be exported as a CSV once we have the database tool that we're using. Import that Excel spreadsheet, add whatever columns we need. It sounds like that.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, it's already being.
Okay.
It's just that spreadsheet has changed so much over the years.
Yeah.
I've added a lot more tracking fields. It used to be a one-page spreadsheet. Now it's getting longer every year.
Okay. So that's good because I think that would be helpful. It would maybe good if you can print out just the column headers. You don't have to you can maybe give like 3 examples.
Yes.
Like the first 3, but just the column headers all the way across that we can review.
Yes.
And then I think that would be a good place for us to start, at least getting some preparation going, and then we could talk about like search functions, that kind of stuff, what we would like to see in search functions. Okay. And then if we're not able to do something with the clerk's office, we'll petition for something separate, and we can go out on our own and look for whatever we want, or have somebody build it for us or something like that.
Do we need a motion today?
Nope, I don't think so.
So let me take some public comments. Is there any public comment on this item? We got one.
Sounds great.
Thank you very much. I think we can move on to the next item then.
Next on the agenda is item number 8, file number 17051, hearing, disclosure of public records contained on personal devices and accounts, and related sunshine ordinance issues arising from the California Supreme Court decision in Smith versus City of San Jose.
So, an update on this is that I have not been able to make much progress on a call for feedback on this. I just have the drone policy drone letter came up, and there have been various other personal and professional things that have kept me from really devoting a lot of time to it. But I hope that this month I'll be able to clear some time to put it out there again. I know that we've had a few cases come up since then, and we probably will continue to have more. but I'm not really sure what more we can say at this point.
So a lot of those cases have been more on timeliness. We couldn't even get to the meat of the matters because they were either based on timeliness or, refusing to, no response, things like that. So, it just couldn't actually get to like somebody not provide or not being able to provide or something like that.
Right.
So, that's kind of where things are at, I think, right now.
Victor, has the city submitted anything else to employees about this in the time since we first started talking about it?
I haven't seen anything besides the city attorney memo.
Right. So there hasn't been anything issued to,
Seen.
So I mean, I feel like at some point, I hope the city does do that. I don't think it's necessarily our role to instruct employees on making sure that they don't use their personal email, to do city business, because ultimately, a very the situation that's best for everybody is that you don't do city business on your Gmail, but that doesn't necessarily work for commissions like us, but for at least for employees, that would certainly help.
I think in our case, good advice from us is how to stay compliant.
Yeah.
That's, I think, is our best advice, because then they get the benefit of our perspective.
Member Otherwolf.
I don't have anything to add on this.
All right, so maybe some public comment, and we can continue. Well, do we need a motion to continue this to the next meeting, or because this is an ongoing?
Sure.
And I didn't realize about the last one, or does it actually require one? I can just add this.
Take no action. We can just add it to the next.
Okay,
Yeah.
then let's take public comment on that. Seeing none,
Well, you said public comment?
I did say public comment.
Oh, you sit in the big chair.
I said I can say it louder next time.
As members of the public, I am very interested in this Smith v. San Jose, but I don't know exactly what it is. And you reference it a lot at the task force here. And I think it would be helpful for us at least to have a site as to where to find it, because it is important, and we'd like to know too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just for the record, Smith v. San Jose was a California Supreme Court decision that determined that public records are public records regardless of where they live, and that means if they live on a personal device or in a personal email account, that they are still public records subject to the California Public Records Act. Any other further public comment? Seeing none, I think we can move on to the next item.
Item number 9, announcements, comments, questions, future agenda items, and pending calendar.
I don't really have anything. I know that there is a new website out there that is. I just heard about this the other day, that for helping people generate form letters for requesting body cam footage. I don't know. It's just kind of new. I don't think it's gotten any press or anything, but it's kind of like a muck rock for body cam footage. So maybe we'll see some of those come through. But beyond that, I think we just have to sort out. Does anybody have anything else to add? Or
I just want to make an announcement. Monday, the project for municipal fiber was launched, and so there's going to have to be policy written around that in the future with regards to privacy and anonymity and things like that, which are more on the privacy, not so much sunshine, but the question will then be if people are using the network like they use it in the building, whether there's any flags that might be raised with regards to sunshine.
So I don't know whether this really is within our jurisdiction, but I was kind of surprised to learn that the body cam footage is being stored in the cloud, and I'm just like not up to speed on the security of the cloud, but it just sort of made me nervous about the potential exploit, and I don't know whether that's within our purview or not, but
this was kind of a subject I some years ago brought up when COIT got created, and they were talking about centralizing all the data in the city into 2 data centers. And there was a tremendous amount of pushback from various departments because they had made investments of time and a lot of money was spent, and they had people who had jobs and they thought people were going to lose jobs, based upon consolidation and things like that. And they wanted to use virtual machines to reduce the amount of hardware and electrical load use. So there's a tremendous amount of pushback on that, and I think that pushback won out, and now everything is somewhat back to being uncentralized, like beyond decentralized, like no centralization at all of data. And so I think we're seeing more and more of these kinds of third-party services being used. And I agree. I think taking public information and putting it out uncontrolled in that way, or having it in like filtered through somebody else's system.
Well,
is
I
not
mean,
good.
So Axon and Taser are the same company,
Right.
And if there's some security vulnerability at the root level of Axon's
Yep.
media streaming server, like someone could conceivably download every police video from every jurisdiction, and Axon, I'm sure, says that they've protected against that, and it's probably not our responsibility to raise the flag and say, is this safe? Is this a good idea? But we are in these seats, and this is what comes to mind.
Yeah.
But we are sort of straying into discussions that could take a very long time, and we have 3 minutes before the next hearing.
Right, I was just sort of trying to figure out whether that should be placed on a future agenda item. Was why I was saying it.
I think if it raises a question for you want more discussion, then I think it's appropriate.
Let's go and do that.
Let's do that.
Do we need to set the time for the next meeting right now, or can we sort that out?
These are special meetings, so we can make that determination at a later time.
Sure. So public comment on that section of what item number are we on? Sorry.
Item 9.
On item 9, which is announcements, comments, questions, future agenda items, and pending calendar. Seeing none.
Move to adjourn.
Can we move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
You move to adjourn?
Second.
Can we take that without objection?
The meeting is adjourned.
There we go.
Meeting is adjourned.
There we go.